at them fluffy pancakes.
Many mahalos and welcome to this very special GoPro live stream experience. I'm Cohen Summers and I'm coming to you live from my GoPro here out of my house in beautiful Oceanside, California. And we're here today to drop you some tips and tricks on dusting off that SD card. So for those that are joined our live stream experiences, make sure you hang around for the end when we're going to have a live Q&A with myself and our special guest. So throw your comments and questions in down below. We're also going to have a team of live moderators answering your questions in real time, as well as the moderators will be selecting a few of those questions to actually win your very own GoPro Hero 8 Black. So make sure you're asking your questions. So whether you want to get them, you've got Q&As that we can answer in real time, or you want to ask us questions, myself and our guests will be answering a bunch of stuff at the end of the show. But let's jump right in. So as you guys are probably like myself, I've got terabytes of hard drives just full of content. I've got SD cards just that are stacking up left and right. And what better time than now to go relive some of those memories, bring back some of that content to help create some really cool footage to share with your friends and your family. So today, joining me from the future, all the way across the globe in Bangkok, Thailand, is my teammate, Ron Ng. And without further ado, if you guys haven't been watching his content on the Home Pro Challenge, I would jump onto GoPro or even just onto Ron's Instagram and check out what he and his wife have been doing in their 30 square meter apartment. It is impressive and just so entertaining. And so who better today than to show us how to dust off his SD card so you guys can too, is my main man, Ron. Ron, what's up from the future, my boy?
What's up, Cohen? And thank you for the introduction and Home Pro shout out. I want to thank you once again for having me on this series. I'm super honored to be here. And for those of you who are at home, who got up early, or maybe you're in the US, I also want to give you a huge shout out for taking time off to join us on this series. I'm super excited to be here today to share about my experiences. And I would say today's topic, it's one that I can relate to all the time, because I shoot way too much content, especially when I'm on a trip, thinking that I will eventually return from it to make a cool edit. However, this and I know this is that edit never happens majority of the time because of priorities in life. That is, and today, I think GoPro came up with an amazing suite of solutions. When I mean solutions, I'm also talking about their software, that has enabled me to manage and streamline my workflow so that I am able to share content on the go. And I would say this entire experience has been absolutely life-changing. So today, to help you better manage your workflow, I will be sharing with you all that you need to know about dusting off those SD cards. In other words, I will be sharing with you how you can edit, view, and share those content that you have captured. In these sessions, I will be covering with you the three main methods in which you can offload and manage your content. At the same time, I'll be covering with you some of my personal workflow that I go through. And just before we dive into my favorite method number one, the GoPro app. The GoPro app, with the GoPro app, you are able to do the following amazing stuff, such as control your GoPro, view your content, edit, share, as well as live stream. So for those of you who want to learn more about live stream, you can check out the previous series. Cohen and Thomas Grana, huge shout out to them. They did an amazing job with that series. So you can check that out. Without further ado, I've done a video, and here's the video that you can check out.
All right, so first of all, I'm going to show you how do we pair our Hero 8 Black to the GoPro app. Over here, what you want to do is swipe down, go to Preferences, go to Connections, followed by Connect a new device, then select the GoPro app. That puts your Hero 8 Black into pairing mode. Over on your mobile phone, turn it on, go to the GoPro app, then select the camera icon on the bottom left, followed by the plus. This enables the app to scan the area to search for your camera. There you go. Connect to your GoPro camera, followed by pair your Bluetooth. There you go. Okay, once that's done, the app will prompt you whether you want to change the name. I'm just going to save this as a new name. Alright, and there you go. Your Hero 8 Black is now ready. Let's go. And there you go, guys. That's how you pair your Hero 8 Black to the GoPro app. Now that we are all paired up and I am in the GoPro app, here's a quick walkthrough. Right in its center, that is the live preview of the GoPro app. At its bottom, if you swipe left and you swipe right, that enables you to change between modes. And if you press that button in the center, that triggers the GoPro shutter. At its bottom, by tapping that icon, that allows you to change between presets and adjust your settings. On top, right above, that displays camera information such as the space that you have left in your SD card. Alright, over at its bottom, finally, by tapping that grid box, that allows us to preview and manage our content. Now let's go ahead and tap that button. This allows me to preview all my content that I've captured. Now, if I want to preview a certain clip, I would simply tap the thumbnail, and in the preview I have the following tools to manage my content. I can either download it, tap the scissors icon and trim it to a specific moment, or if I spot an interesting moment like this, I can tap the frame grab icon and I can actually export it as a single photo. Amazing. Here is a pro tip for you guys. Whenever I spot interesting moments like this, I like to go the extra step to actually highlight and tag these specific moments so that afterwards when I'm doing a mass offload, I can remember which clips I intend to download. Speaking about mass offloading, here is what I am going to do right now. I am going to go tap the top right hand corner on the checkbox. I'm going to select all those clips that I have highlight tagged earlier. Alright, and once I am done selecting the clips that I like, I am going to go ahead and tap the center button, the center icon, and yeah, to actually offload it. And once you're done, all these clips are now being saved in the GoPro App Media Gallery. Simple, isn't it?
Yo, Ron, thank you for helping us really build that foundation. We got to be able to, pair, get connected, and man, I love that pro tip about grabbing a screen grab from your video. And for those out there that, sometimes want to get like the endless burst mode and they're always stuck at like 30 and 1, 30 and 3, 30 and 6. If you take that same workflow and shoot in 4K 4:3 at 30 frames a second, you can actually use the GoPro to grab a full 4K screen grab, which is an 8 megapixel screen grab at 30 frames a second. So literally endless 30/1 burst mode. So without further ado though, like for those that are joining us, I want to thank you guys. We're here today to drop some tips and tricks on how to dust off your SD card. We're actually talking to my teammate in the future over in Bangkok, Thailand, and he just kind of ran through how to pair, how to mass offload your footage, and we're going to pass it back over to Ron to keep diving into dusting off your SD card and now kind of some additional steps. So Ron, let's cut back to you, my friend.
Thank you, Cohen. And yes, for those of you who are at home, to view those content, simply tap the second icon on the bottom right in your GoPro app. Now, there are several reasons why your content is being saved in the GoPro app and not your phone directly. And that's because mainly this workflow resolves many video to smartphone compatibility and playback issue. For example, if I'm shooting something in a higher resolution and specs like 4K 60 or 2.7K 120, not all the phone models in the market can handle such resolution. On the other hand, not only are you able to download and play back those content on the GoPro app, you are as well introduced to an amazing suite of editing tools to use.
Now that I'm in the GoPro App Media Gallery, I'm going to tap the thumbnail to preview my content. And if I tap the pencil icon, I am introduced to single clip editing. Absolutely love this powerful and intuitive feature. By tapping the scissors, I can trim my clip. Tapping the frame icon, I can frame it a certain way. I can throw on a filter, which I'm going to do right now. Okay. I can also adjust its speed to create epic slow motion effects like this. Hit adjust and I can actually color grade my photo. Okay, just exposure, contrast, vibrance. All right, if I'm satisfied, I'm going to hit save. And if I did not manage to do a photograph earlier, I can actually do it over here in this workflow. Similarly, if I spot an interesting moment like this, I can actually scroll over and do a highlight tag. Of course, last but not least, the most epic feature of all, I can actually tell my story with a single tap of a button. So there are a couple of ways in which you can create your story in the GoPro app. You can either open a project directly from the home screen or from the single clip. My preferred workflow, I like to choose the clips that I've tagged earlier, and then once I've selected, I'm going to tap the magical icon at the bottom. Now this is truly mind-blowing. The GoPro app has done all the heavy lifting for me and it's created a draft project. It's added effects and transitions based on the themes selected. You have 11 themes to choose from, by the way. I'm going to choose my favorite, the launch theme. At the same time, if you go to music, it's actually syncing your video to the beat of the music. I am going to choose a funky music. Alright, now if you tap on the clock icon, you can actually adjust the length and duration of your clip. Either a long clip, something for Instagram. I'm going to go with a short clip, maybe something at 29 seconds. Alright, next step, you can choose the aspect ratio. Something like 16:9 for cinematic effect. I'm gonna go with 4:3 because I'm posting it on as a post. Alright, noticing that I've missed out a couple of clip, I can tap the plus icon, and what happens now is I can add clips from my app, my phone, or the GoPro Cloud. So I'm just gonna choose something from my phone, I'm gonna select that, I'm gonna add it into my clip. If I hold on to that particular clip, I can actually drag and drop it to my preferred location. I'm gonna put it up front. Okay, let's see how it fits there. Yep, fits. Awesome. Alright, what I'm gonna do now, I'm just gonna change the title of my clip. I'm gonna call it Pancake Day. Alright, where is my emoji? Smiley face. Alright, cool. Alright, now that I've created my story, let's just preview it, see how it goes. And by the way, for your information guys, earlier I said you can take your clips out from your GoPro Cloud or your phone. The GoPro app actually supports non-GoPro footage as well. So the good news is for non-GoPro users out there, if you're a DSLR user or if you don't own a GoPro camera at all, it's perfect. If you shot something on your phone, feel free to use the GoPro app to edit it for you. I would say it's probably one of the best beginner app. Now that my clip is done, I can actually save it if I'm satisfied. Alright, got it. There you go. Story has already been created. If I want to make some tweaks, I can actually tap the pencil icon again. That brings my project back up for you to add on further details. But I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied with what I've shot. And that's it guys. That is how you tell your story with a single tap.
Yo, thank you, Ron. And again, for those that are joining us live right now, I hope you just saw Ron breaking down some great features and benefits that you can utilize the GoPro app for. So after you've offloaded and organized and you're managing your footage, it's awesome to see, how you can turn a few clips that you've highlight tagged into a beautiful automatic edit using the GoPro app. And for those that are joining us, we're here to talk about dusting off your SD card. But if you guys want to learn more and dive deeper in how to edit with the GoPro app, join us on an upcoming series where we're going to dive deep into that topic and talk about single clip editing as well as multi-clip editing more in detail with one of our world famous GoPro family members. But we all know too, man, I have to have hard drives, I gotta have SD card space, I gotta always be freeing up stuff. And sometimes when you're on the go, it would be just nice to have access to my footage no matter where I am, no matter which device I'm on. Maybe I wanna edit stuff from a year and a half ago, and I would love to be able to just access that footage right from the palm of my hand. And so now with GoPro Plus, not only can you have all your GoPro footage accessible anywhere, anytime, any place. There's some other great features and benefits that Plus gives you. And so Ron's gonna spend a few minutes jumping into the features and benefits of Plus. So I'm gonna throw it back to Ron to give us some download on the features and benefits and how he uses Plus in his workflow. So Ron, drop some knowledge on the Plus.
Much appreciated, Cohen. So since we mentioned about the GoPro Cloud earlier, what a great way to segue to method number 2 in managing your content, GoPro Plus. To get the most out of your GoPro camera, here is a video clip about GoPro Plus. Yes, you heard that right. Unlimited cloud storage for all your GoPro content. Now, if you want to find out more features and benefits about GoPro Plus, do check out GoPro.com. So, there are three main ways in which you can utilize GoPro Plus to manage and offload your content. The first being using your GoPro app. Simply tap on Settings, go to My Account, and toggle Mobile Upload on. So, this will enable the app to automatically offload and upload your content to the GoPro cloud. Second, wirelessly offloading via your GoPro camera using your home Wi-Fi. Just remember to plug your camera into a power outlet. And the last, on GoPro.com, by using this option, you can actually use your computer to upload your content to GoPro Cloud. Now, if you are interested to learn more about these methods, the team has actually put up a great article onto the GoPro support hub page, walking you through this step by step with the pictures and screenshots. We will remember to include this link in the description after the session. So for those of you who are tuning in right now, you can actually catch this in the link. So the last but not least, this is the traditional method in offloading your content. It's via an SD card. So it's a super straightforward workflow. I love this. At times, it's by dragging and dropping your stuff into your computer. But nonetheless, here is a screen recording of how I go about doing this workflow. My pro tip for you guys when I'm offloading via my computer, I would recommend for you to create folders to organize and sort them. I personally like to sort them in chronological order by date and title. Well, I would say there is no hard and fast rule in terms of how you organize them. I know some creators do it by short type, perspective. At the end of the day, it's how you find your content, choose a method that you are most comfortable with. It's all up to you. And boom, it's as simple as that. Now, what are you waiting for? Let's dust off those SD cards. And back to you, Cohen.
Hey, Ron. Thank you so much for talking to us from the future. First of all, I just really appreciate you breaking it down from all the way from the beginning, all the way through the end workflow, dropping some of those really important tips and tricks, and even how we can step up our game to a whole nother level by incorporating GoPro Plus into our workflow. But now my favorite part of the show. First of all, I hope you guys have been asking your questions and comments, because we'll be picking a couple of those questions and they'll actually be winning a GoPro Hero 8 Black. So I think this is a perfect time to cut over to the live Q&A. So Eric, do you want to tell the moderators to start teeing up some questions to this handy dandy phone? And Ron, we had to put you on the spot. Your wife and you guys came up with such a cool concept for this Home Pro challenge. And so before we cut over to the live Q&A, we got to show the world what you and your wife got into over the last couple weeks through this little self-quarantine. So let's cut over to your video, and then we'll be back with a little side-by-side live Q&A. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay, cool.
Yo!
Yo!
Ron, are you bored in your house?
Ron, are you bored in your house?
I want to get down.
I am bored in my house. This is a 30 square meter apartment and I can't be bored. But anyway, thank you for having me here once again, Cohen. I absolutely love it and I'm having a fun time here.
Me too, man.
Sending you a virtual high five.
Yeah, am I this way or maybe I'm that way? High five.
Yeah,
well,
that way.
hey guys, I want to thank you all for tuning in and taking time to, help stream with us. I want to give a couple shout outs, guys. I was, thumbing through some of the comments when we were off screen, and want to, of course, Kyle Bear Kiwi, you might have to, compete because, Ron's wife's right next door. So I don't know if that's your boy. And Sengi and Marcus, I really appreciate you guys jumping on and hanging out with us too. But let's jump into the Q&A. But as I said before, for the best questions, we might have a very special giveaway. As I mentioned, as a GoPro Hero 8 Black. So as I mentioned before, our moderators, I want to give a huge shout out to our team in Manila as well as our team here from HQ. Thank you so much for moderating. They're going to start sending over some questions over to my phone, and we're going to answer a bunch of your questions right now, and then they'll help us pick the best ones to win the camera. So let's jump in. We've got the first question. Well, not coming from any old person. What's up, Chef Yash? How's it over in India? I know Ron and I are a huge fan of yours, and I appreciate you taking time to come hang out with us. So Chef Yash wants to know, what SD card do you recommend? SanDisk, Lexar, or any other? He uses the 1000X Lexar SD cards for his Hero 8 and Max, but at times the card error strikes back. So I would say the best solution, and I can have the moderators put this in the link, is on our community page on the support hub. We have an entire page dedicated to SD cards and their compatibility for the different cameras. We keep that list up to date and ongoing as other companies release newer SD cards, or maybe it's different capacities, different speeds, as well as it will give you kind of the best highlights for which SD cards, for your use case. But I think, Chef, to your use case, like, you're using the right type of cards. You always want to make sure, and I actually have a SD card right here. So just like this one here, I don't know if you guys can see that. This is a 16 gig. So I would suggest always using something with 32, 64. I don't really like going too much bigger than 64. Again, just think about your belly. If it's full of food and you're trying to, go jog around the block, it's just going to slow everything down. Just like that with your GoPro. If you've got a 128 gig SD card and you've got 120 gigs, everything on that camera is going to run slower. It's going to boot slower. It's going to take longer time to do that. So while it is a bonus if you're in that scenario where you don't have access to a hard drive or to offload, it will, it does have more data it has to process. So I do like kind of that 64 gig range. That's my personal preference. On the other side of things, when it comes to picking the SD card, just make sure you're using a reputable brand like Lexar or SanDisk. Make sure that you're picking a UHS-3 card that, and now you've kind of got even these ones have that little A1 marker on there. I would always suggest going, to those, but the best place is to just double check GoPro.com's community page. Again, the moderator will throw that link in below, and that will always have the most up to date. Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah.
So let's see. Ron, I know that you posted a few questions. You posted an Instagram story earlier today, or I guess it was last night before you went to bed. Because isn't it crazy? I always joke about you being in the future, but you literally are 18 hours. 18 hours? Is that how far ahead you are? Yeah, 18 hours ahead.
I live in the future.
I mean, it's already Thursday morning over there, as well as a lot of you guys that are joining in. So I appreciate the ones that stayed up late, and appreciate the ones that went, are coming in. So Ron, your question that you got anything that came in on your Instagram story that was cool, important, that you thought was neat?
I thought as I was reading through the comments this morning as I got up, once again, I think thank you everybody for joining us so early in the morning over here in Asia. And what's up everybody else in Europe and US? This question I thought was really interesting. It came from Vicky across my Instagram story. She asked, how can I make everyday non-extreme activities appear as epic as GoPro? Here is my take on this question. And I think it's a great question because over people like me, I'm just an ordinary guy. I don't do any crazy stuff. And if you've been checking out my Instagram stories lately, all my content has been revolving around this 30 square meter apartment. Me and my wife, we have been doing tons of crazy stuff to get creative. And I would say one of the tips that I can give you in terms of how do you make your clips interesting, it's all about the perspective. I think perspective is such an important piece of tip that I like to pass on. So the next time if you go out to shoot a certain scene or action, think about what kind of perspective do you want to capture in that scene. my challenge to you is, can you do that same scene in 3 different kind of perspective? And I think that then adds a layer of element to your shot. It makes it more interesting, because when a viewer watch a perspective that he or she never sees before, then you got a subtle hook for them. So they are watching a video, it's like, this is interesting. This looks kind of rad too. So Vicky, I hope I've answered your question. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. Of course, want to give your fans, the opportunity to ask, get some questions answered as well. But I got a great question that's coming in from D-Rex with the triple X. He or she says, I'm guilty of unedited SD card footage, Ron. And D-Rex wants to know, how do you find motivation to edit old footage? And I think that's a great question, because you probably you shoot a lot like I do, and you and I also don't edit all the time.
God.
So what do you do?
Yeah. So I would say, like I said earlier, like I am super guilty of this. I just give you an example. Like 5.5 years ago, I traveled to Europe. I have 500 gigs of content. It's now living in a hard drive. It's still living in a hard drive. One of the ways I find motivation is, I always tell myself now, is that if I don't do anything to the content today or in the next 2 or 3 days, nothing's going to happen to that content. And for me, that is something that I look back and say like, maybe I could have done something better. So what I do is that I try to act on it as soon as possible. When the creative thought or the inspiration is still in my mind, I try to act on it as soon as possible so that I can get started. Whether is it as easy as offloading into my phone, or whether is it by offloading into my computer. My preferred workflow, like you guys saw earlier, I'm always on the go, so I do a lot of stuff actually on my mobile phone. So I am offloading continuously every other day. So I'm like, okay, I shot something nice here. I remember it. I'm going to do a highlight tag afterwards, and then I'm going to save it into my phone. So as you go through old footage, I think one of the other inspiration that I find is that by watching YouTube videos, I think I see a lot of creators online. I pick a lot of inspiration from all you creators out there. So sometimes when I see something interesting as well, I was like, maybe I should go dig up some old content. And I think this time when you are staying at home, I think what better time do you have, now that you have all the time in the world to dig through those old content?
Absolutely. And I say, D-Rex, that's my answer, is like, I wish I could be out surfing or biking or camping or doing all the things that I would normally be doing, but I can't. So what better way to kind of relive those moments is go dig through some old footage, and, might as well put together a quick little edit to share. But thank you for your question. Manish wants to know, I'm storing a video shot in 4K on GoPro Plus. Will it be stored in the same quality or downgraded to 1080p? So I'm assuming Ron didn't want to answer that question since he didn't say anything, so I'll take it. So, Manish, like the nice feature with the GoPro Plus over the last couple of years is we have upgraded everything, and so now you can store full res files in the cloud. Before, you could only upload if you uploaded a 4K, it was only going to upload up to a 1080p. Now it will capture and keep all source files of that. So you will have a 4K file in the cloud as well. So let's see, wow, I'm gonna slaughter this name. So Agilzvawats?
Oh.
I'm sorry, Agilvizwats. I hope that's the way.
Nailed it.
Nailed it? Okay, perfect. So the best setting, this person wants to know the best setting for nighttime lapse. For example, Northern Lights. I heard it's quite hard to capture the lights. So first of all, guys, I think before I answer this question, what I would love to hear from you two is, what do you guys want to see on future live streams? I see like we're getting a lot of questions about night photo, night lapse. We had some questions about color grading. We want to be able to continue to bring these to you a couple times a month. So like in the comment box, what else would you like to hear in future live stream? What other topics, so that as we work with great creators and influencers, as well as internal employees like Ron, we can also help tee up some great talent that have awesome examples, as well as tips and tricks around that. So whether it be night photo or whatever you want to hear, let us know down below. But Ron, we know you're a pretty awesome night photo expert. What would be your tip or trick for Northern Lights, or how to capture quite hard to capture lights where it's low light like that?
All right. So first of all, I would like to say is that with the Hero 8 Black, there is an absolutely new mode. It's really beautiful. I did a IGTV educational video recently, and that's the night lapse video. And I think that's an awesome mode. That in that mode right now, it features your night lapse photos into a video, so you get a video file export. To your particular question about the Northern Lights, my pro tip is that there is a few settings that you have to take note of. The first of which would be your shutter exposure, because at the end of the day, the wider and longer your shutter exposure, you allow more light to come in. So for Northern Lights, in that particular use case, I would say going up to 30 seconds, that would be something that I would recommend. The next thing that I would say would be interesting to know as well would also be your ISO. So it's the sensitivity towards the light. So for that, you can bump up your ISO if you can too. And last but not least, in terms of shooting night scenes, I always like to use the GoPro app because you can use it as a trigger to control your GoPro camera. Because what you don't want to do is that when you have the camera set up beautifully, what you don't want to do is to press the shutter and you shake the framing or composition that you have. So I like to use the GoPro app to trigger my camera at remotely. Yeah. Oh yeah, and the last thing that I didn't really touch on the night photo or long exposure shots is that you would have to have your GoPro set up with a tripod, or for me, I like the jaw flex clamp a lot because I like to clamp it on places to get interesting perspective. The reason for that is because when you are shooting a long exposure shot, and if you shake the camera and because the shutter is open, what will happen is that you get a trail of light, and then that goes on to another type of shot called like light trails. But if you are shooting like stars, scenery, street lights, then I would say it's important to keep your camera steady. And that is why it's important to have a tripod or like a piece of equipment, the jaw flex clamp that I like. So I hope that helps answer your question.
Yeah, also another couple tip and trick is like you could use the GoPro Wi-Fi remote if you want to be able to remote trigger it, or your voice control. My wife and I love to go camping, and I love to get some shots of the stars at night, but I also don't want to climb out of that warm sleeping bag out of my tent to go out and yell at my camera or to turn it on and shoot it. So what I'll do a lot of times is I'll connect my Wi-Fi remote to my camera. I set it out there, and then I can wake up in the middle of the night. I can power my GoPro on with my Wi-Fi remote. It's already set up, 50 feet away from me or so. And I can get it to capture, because with the GoPro Wi-Fi remote you're able to connect and control the GoPro up to about 500 feet away, and as long as there's no obstructions. So camping, unless if you're camping amongst the tons of trees or something, you should be able to use that. But basically you don't want to touch that camera because any movement will trigger that. So another good thing that Ron mentioned is just use that timer. It's a great way to help benefit. So JY wants to know, Ron, what inspired you to create the epic content, and how do you come up with these ideas? They actually said, how's the ideas pop up? Just pure awesome, exclamation mark. So.
What's up, Xiaowei?
Oh,
Malaysia.
sorry, I
Thank
said your
you
name
for
wrong,
your
Xiaowei.
question.
My bad.
That's cool. And I would say thank you for checking on my content. I would say as this period, as you stay home, my wife and I would say we recently downloaded this application called TikTok. I would say, and the stuff that people do on TikTok are absolutely insane. I take a lot of inspiration watching other creators like yourself. As a $1 Million Challenge winner, I really take a lot of inspiration from the community, and then I look back and say, okay, what can I do different here? Is there something that I can change or tweak? Or is there a different perspective? Can I shoot it a different way? So to your question, I think thinking back onto the storyboard, thinking back onto perspective, like I mentioned earlier, that's one way, definitely in terms of how you can build a framework of creativity. And I think that starts from storyboarding, even to your perspective. Super question, dude.
Sweet. So Jerome Conception wants to know, for an aspiring GoPro user / editor, may I ask what advice you can give us?
What advice can I give you?
For someone that's aspiring
okay,
GoPro
so
user
here
and
is here is my tip, and I think that this tip goes all the way from new users even to an existing user. I would say my go-to tip is that storyboarding and planning your shots is always very essential, because I think that definitely builds the foundation of what story or photo or video that you intend to create. So having and planning your shot in ahead of time, that definitely helps in terms of you getting a shot. At the same time, why I like to plan for my shot is so that when I'm on a trip, I don't spend too much time shooting everything, because when I'm on a trip, I want to enjoy the scenery, I want to enjoy the holiday. And when I plan my shot beforehand, I actually save time. So that's my tip number one. My number two tip is that I like to shoot short clips, because at the end of the day, I know the type of shots that I like. So I'm just going to say, okay, shoot 1, 2, 3, 4 shots. And I'm going to keep it short so that afterwards, when I'm offloading, it's also much easier. And last but not least is, keep capturing. I think keep an open mind, keep thinking about what kind of style do you want to create. And at the end of the day, I think what makes a creator so unique and so awesome is that each and every one of you have your own style. So the more that you shoot and the more that you capture, you discover and find your own style. And that's what makes all of this beautiful. And that's what keeps me inspired all the time, because everyone is so unique out there.
Absolutely.
I hope I answered your question, Jerome.
Yeah, Jerome, I hope that does. As well as, if you have other questions, keep throwing them.
Yeah.
Looks like we got some more questions coming in.
Yes.
We got a list that's just ongoing.
Yeah.
So let's pull up another one. So
Yeah.
Diego Sepulveda wants to know, for travel videos and that kind of stuff, do you shoot in linear or super view? Well, I don't know, Ron. Okay. I'll answer from my side, and then I'd love to hear your side. I'd say from my side, it's all personal preference on again, back to Ron's answer before, is what are you going to do with that content? Are you trying to match it with other content shot on other cameras or other phones? Do you want the fisheye? Do you not want the fisheye? Do you want that super wide immersive camera angle that Superver gives you, at the widest camera angle of any GoPro? Widest and tallest, so you can kind of get the benefits of 4x3 and 16x9 without having to sacrifice or do a lot of cropping or stretching in post-production. So personally, for me, today, we're running ours through Wirecast, and so I've set, I wanted this to feel a little bit tighter. I didn't want you guys to see the lights and stuff in the room, so I've set my camera to linear. But traditionally, when I'm doing activities, I'm outside and I really want to highlight my environment, I usually will tend to shoot wider super view. On GoPro Max super view all day. I love Max super view. It's even wider than you can get with the Hero 8 Black or any other super view from our previous cameras. So I love Max super view for sure. But what about you, Ron? What's your preference, or what's your opinion?
I think you hit it right in the nail. At the end of the day, I think it depends on what type of shots you intend to get. I would say specifically for these two modes that you refer to, linear, I use linear when I'm shooting landscape type shots or architectural type shots. Because at the end of the day, if I'm shooting a beautiful sunset in the horizon on the beach, I don't want it to look warped, so that sunset looks like it's a bow or curve, because that would look, or the horizon look like it's curved, because that would look weird. So whenever I'm shooting an architectural type shot in the city or at a landscape, I would go for linear. So that's my preferred, because there is no distortion on linear. Then again, when I go to super view, when do I use it? I use it mainly for POV, like Cohen said. When he's surfing or when I'm doing a POV activity, I absolutely love the super view mode, because that gives you a really wide POV and it's really immersive. So if you want to bring your audience on the journey in the first person POV journey, I think super view is definitely the mode that you can check out.
Absolutely.
Great question, dude.
So D-Rex, Triple X, 2 questions. Thank you, sir.
Whoa.
Or ma'am,
Yeah.
I'm not really sure. D-Rex could be a lot of things. Play on T-Rex. D-Rex has a ton of footage from many versions of GoPro over the years. What are your suggestions when compiling footage from multiple frame rates and resolutions?
So I think at the end of the day, when it comes to this topic, it's what do you intend to, it still this comes back to the same thing. Where do you intend to share your content on? If you're intending to share it on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, I think that's an important question to ask yourself. Then you would know, what resolution do you want to export it in? At the end of the day, if you're exporting something on Instagram, for example, I export a lot of stuff on Instagram. I do it mainly in 1080, because at the end of the day, Instagram does not even upload more than high resolution than 1080. So Yeah, so what do I do when I'm compiling the footage? I think at the end of the day, it's not so much so on the frame rates or resolution. I like to match my cuts based on scenes. So if there is a particular scene that I kind of like, I try to match it based on scenes rather than its settings. So that's how I would go about that workflow. And if you saw that pancake video that I did earlier when I used that washing machine to cook we bake a pancake with our washing machine. So it's about matching the scenes. So I knew I wanted to have a type of shot where I brought the pancake into the washing machine. So that's why when you watch that video again, I had 2 or 3 perspectives showing that. And then at the same time, when I'm pulling the pancake out, I also have 2 or 3 perspectives in that shot.
So what cameras were you using, Ron?
What do you think,
use
Owen?
all Hero 8s? Were you using Max, Hero 8, Hero 7? What cameras were you using?
For the pancake video, Hero 8 all the way. So this guy fits into a perfect places. You probably saw some shots that pancake shots when I put in the washing machine. So I basically had it clip on this new guy here, the magnetic clip swivel mount. It was mounted up top and I had it clipped onto my plate. So that's how you get that pancake plate perspective. And then Celine, my wife, she was holding that plate and sending it into the washing machine. So that's how I got the shot.
Yeah, and that new magnet clip swivel mount is one of my favorite mounts we've released in a long time. Huge shout out to our product and accessory team. As you see here that Ron's holding
awesome.
up,
I absolutely love it.
It's got a clamp, it can magnet, and the little GoPro mount, the quick release actually swivels. So depending on where you're putting it, it's a great mount for just kind of everyday use, kind of wherever you're clamping it on. So, wow. Next question.
Bite mount as well.
Bite mount as well. Mark Vlog or Mark Vlog, my mom calls it vlogging, but Mark Vlog wants to know Ron, what tips do you have for taking care of your SD cards? What is the best to do to take care of your SD cards? Like, do you have any tips or tricks?
I would say I've had a personal experience before. Like earlier, Cohen, when you mentioned to have multiple cards, that is something that I highly recommend as well, because there was once in the past when I was on a trip, I only had one SD card and that SD card crashed on me. So that was a terrible experience because I can't shoot anything. So my recommendation is that have a few cards, and store it in the dry. Try to store it in the dry place. Sometimes what I have is that in my wallet compartment, the zip compartment, I like to have a small Ziploc bag, and I put a couple of my SD cards inside. My preference, I rather have 4 32 gig than 128 gig. So that, at the end of the day, if I'm managing my content, it's 32 gigs that I'm managing instead of 128 gigs when I'm managing. Because we all know the problem here is that you only start to manage your content or start to delete stuff in your SD card when your SD card is full. Other than that, you're like, I'm not going to do it today. But by the time you realize your SD card is full, you realize it's 128 gigs to deal with. So that is why up till today, I still stick with 32 gigs of SD card, and that's what I always use. I have tons of 32 gig of SD cards.
And Ron, I think to your point,
I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I hope so too. And if not, like another thing that I like to do is I've got this like cool little plastic. It's a Pelican case. It's actually waterproof and it holds 8 or 9 SD cards on each side. So that's something I usually take specifically if I'm going to be carrying my bag in places that things could get wet. And I love Ron's tip about I would too. I run 32 gig or 64 gig. Like I had run some 128, but when I lost that 128 gig SD card, I lost all 128 gigs. So
man,
it sucks.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Mark. So Joshka Hillstein wants to know, how can you make more epic underwater? How can you make more epic underwater footage? Like, what are your tips? What are your tricks for shooting underwater?
I would say absolutely great question. I love the ocean and the sea. Absolutely love it. And I would say one way to shoot better underwater footage, I would say it's you have to be relatively confident in the water. I think first and foremost, I think safety is very important. At the end of the day, as you're chasing that content that you want, I think being safe, it's much more important than that. So I like to highlight that, you guys got to be safe first. In terms of getting that underwater awesome content, I would say number one, it depends on the visibility of the water. So still a couple of things that you can do. if water visibility is great, I like to shoot it at a higher resolution. So if you saw some of my recent free diving trip that I went to in Thailand, I actually shot in 2.7K, 120 frame rates a second. And the reason why I shoot in a higher frame rate is because you can create those epic slow motion type shots underwater. So for example, if I'm blowing like a bubble ring, you can slow it down. Really, really cool. Then again, if visibility is not that great, still cool. You can bump down your frame rates per second to 60 frame rates per second or 30 frame rates per second, and that's entirely fine as well. Nonetheless, I like to shoot at 2.7K when I'm out in the ocean, because I know, to Cohen's tip earlier about frame grabbing, you still can export a really nice, beautiful still picture.
Yeah.
So
that 2.7K screen grab is still going to be 4 megapixels, so it's great for things like Instagram and so forth. So
Instagram,
screen grab at 2.7K is still high quality for a lot of the things that we're going to need it for. I'd also suggest, if you're going to be shooting in like scenarios like maybe you're going under rocks or you're going through coral tunnels or things, bring a light. Get an underwater light that's rated for diving. There are great companies out there that have a lot of different, lights that they don't even have to be GoPro lights, just something that can help light and fill, whatever your subject is that you're shooting. One thing that's cool too is that the newer GoPros actually have really enhanced metadata that can actually do scene detection. And so when you go underwater, it actually will adjust the color and the white balance, and to make sure that it can compensate, so you don't need like a red or a magenta filter. If you are using one of the older GoPros, we would highly suggest you using some sort of dive filter. One that we love to shout out is like with the Hero 8, there is some new dive filters that Polar Pro has made that I personally am a big fan for. Also, they make some great ND filters as well if you're looking for outside of water, maybe you're looking to control shutter speed or kind of get that motion blur look in. They've got a really cool cinematic set for any of your ND needs, which is awesome. I know Ron has a set and I have a set and I love them. They're awesome.
So cool. Yeah, I love them all the time.
So Bhavya Tejwani wants to know, how many batteries do you usually recommend people carrying when they're out traveling? So I think this is a great question. Power management, battery management. Super. What's your suggestion, Ron? What's your go-to?
I would say, Bhavya, it's that you can never have enough power. To Cohen's point, you can never have enough power, especially if you're shooting all the time. But my recommended, nonetheless, it's 3 batteries. Why 3 batteries? I think the dual battery charger, you can keep 2 batteries in it at one time, and then you have 1 extra battery in your GoPro camera. So 3 batteries, I would say it's really the optimum that I would recommend. And it's a very neat workflow, so that when you pop 1 battery out, you just pop it back in, you pop and you swap. And that really manages it very effectively. To that other question about power management as well, I think it's also important, especially if you're traveling, maybe it's like a road trip or like a long trip, you won't be having a computer with you. To my earlier tip, it's about shooting that short clip, because at the end of the day, the more that you shoot, the more SD card space that you take up as well. So you also want to start thinking, what do I want to shoot? And then I think that then brings you back to that first point in terms of planning the type of shot, like thinking about it, before you're going for that trip, holiday, think about it. I think spend 5 minutes to however long you want to think about what is it that you want to shoot when you're traveling. I think that's a really good start point for any creators out there.
Absolutely. Because I mean, if you know that you're only going out for like a couple hour hike, then you probably, if you manage your power correctly with your camera, like 1 battery should be good. But I think Ron hit the nail on the head, because that's what I always suggest too, is I've got my dual battery recharger with 2 batteries, one in the bag, one in the bag. The one thing I like to add in addition, because I've got a camera backpack on or some sort of bag, is I use some sort of juice pack or power pack. That way, to Ron's point, I can always have those 2 other batteries charging, and I can easily just, flop them in and out. And like with the GoPro one, or any other, Mophie or Anchor or anything like that, like, something you got off Amazon or whatever you have. So just, I would say that would be the one additional thing, have some sort of power pack, that's great. But into our next question. So Denise Selucia wants to know, and I don't know where you're from, so I don't know if you're, I hope I pronounced that right. It could be Denise, it could be Dennis, so sorry if I mispronounced it, but Should we reformat the SD card regularly? For example, like Edit for me, maybe talk about the SD card care, not swapping between different devices. So what I think, this person's asking, and I'll suggest this, like if you are swapping between cameras, like maybe you have an SLR like a Sony, and then you take that one from a Sony and you put it into your GoPro, or maybe you're moving from a GoPro Hero 8 Black to a GoPro Max. Anytime that you're swapping the cameras, when you put the brand new SD card in, no matter what, even if you took it out of your GoPro Hero 8, you put it into your computer to offload, you put it back in, I just would highly suggest that in your workflow, when you put that card in, when you power on your camera, you just reformat the SD card. This is just going to be a fail-safe, and it's just going to ensure that if there was anything that could cause an issue, an SD card, and Chef Yash, this goes back to you too, like, once in a while there could just be something that just is hidden under there that you can't see, that you can't access, that could cause an error. So I would just highly suggest that after you've offloaded it and you've cleared it, just when you put it back in the camera, even if you completely deleted everything off on the computer and emptied everything to the trash, still just reformat the SD card no matter what, especially if you're using them in different cameras, for sure. So I'm sorry I stole that one from you. But Denny's also wants to know another one. And what is the best setting for cinematic shots with your GoPro? So Ron, I'm going to tee you up because the Hero 8 Black has all these awesome new presets, and one of them is cinematic. So will you run them through what our cinematic setting is? Maybe if you have a different tip or trick as well.
Yeah, so I mean, thanks for teeing me up, Cohen, because that's what I've exactly dialed in when I saw that question. And so the Hero 8 Black comes with custom presets, and knowing that a lot of you guys out there has been asking for cinematic settings all the time, we have actually included it in one of our custom presets. So the custom preset is 4K 30 frames per second, shooting in linear mode. And the reason why they do it in linear, because you want a type of cinematic type shot. So that is the recommended cinematic preset setting. And for me, I just use this all the time. Until today, I still love this custom preset, and that's what I use actually for my cinematic presets. So Dennis, I hope I've got your question right.
Yeah, and I say, Denny's, the nice part too is the Hero 8 Black allows you to customize those presets. So say you wanted to change the cinematic preset to something different, you could change that, and whatever settings you change it to, it will remember. Or maybe you wanted to create like a slow motion preset and add something that had a higher frame rate. Well, you can also create up, additional ones up to 10 in total. So it allows you really to help customize and then easily switch from preset to preset. So that was a huge upgrade on the Hero 8 Black. That really
super upgrade,
because no longer do you have to only have one setting you can have for your video. Now you can have a selfie mode, you can have the shred mode,
everything.
POV
mode. Yeah, I do a POV mode
and so forth.
POV mode.
So Tom, what's up, man? Tom Radcliffe wants to know what's your favorite mode to shoot with on the Hero 8 Black, and maybe what's your favorite feature? So how about you take your favorite mode and I'll take favorite feature.
I would say in the recent days, I find myself using the photo mode a lot because I think I tend to shoot a lot of photos. I love the GoPro photo mode, and I actually I get some questions. People ask me sometimes, do they shoot in RAW? Do I shoot in RAW? Do I shoot in Super Photo? I actually shoot a lot in Super Photo. So that's something that I like. I actually like how the GoPro Super Photo is working the tones and colors and the shadows of the subject. Sometimes I don't even have to grade it. I just post it, because most of the time I'm sharing on stories or I'm just sharing on the go. So I absolutely love the Hero 8 photo mode. Another good call out, something that I like as well, it's hard, there's so many different modes. I also like the live burst mode. The live burst mode gives me 90 frames. The nice thing about it is that it shoots 1.5 seconds before I press the shutter. It also captures 1.5 seconds after I press the shutter. So sometimes if I'm jumping off the boat, if I'm doing something cool, my friend can just press the live burst mode, and he or she doesn't have to worry about counting down 3, 2, 1, okay, jump, because we know live bursts will capture everything. So I get 90 frames of that scene. I also get a 3-second 4K GIF. So absolutely mind blowing. So this it's hard to say. I love both of these modes.
Yeah, I know. As you were talking, I was like, man, what's my favorite feature? Do I talk about hyper smooth or do I talk about rugged and waterproof? I don't know. I mean, I'd say in general, the reason I fell in love with GoPro is its ability to be rugged, waterproof, durable, because I'm the guy that breaks everything, and you needed a camera back when I first picked up my Hero 2 that I could use mountain biking and skiing and really just bang around, and I could throw in my camera, my ski bag, my backpack bag, you know, my biking bag, and if it got banged around, it wasn't going to get broken. I needed something small and compact and mountable. So just like what a GoPro defined is one of my favorite features, but specifically with the Hero 8, it's got to be Hypersmooth 2.0. I mean, the level of stabilization that this camera is capable of is insane. I mean, even looking at comparing it to our old cameras, like we're getting stability that is not only gimbal-like, it's able to get footage that's smoother as well as shots that a gimbal couldn't even capture, because you can't mount a gimbal everywhere that a GoPro can be mounted. So I for sure think, you know, shaky footage is truly dead, and having that Hypersmooth 2.0 is, you know, it's something that if you look at it and you're like, man, that footage looks good, but you compare that to old cameras or even other competitors' cameras, it is just truly remarkable, and something that now we just expect, and you know, we just want that stable footage. And I think that's, you know, great that GoPro is just setting that standard, and all my videos can look that smooth. And you know, now I can even turn it up all the way to boost if I need that extra stabilization, like if I'm, you know, doing something like running. Ron knows when we were testing it, I actually chased him around. We were in Indonesia, and I sprinted and chased them around, and it was impressive. Like we were bouncing on rocks and you just couldn't see anything but, you know, just smooth as butter. But thank you, Tom, for your question. So Mihir Golani wants to know, Ron, what is your favorite and maybe just most common accessories that you use on the daily? I know you talked about the swivel clip magnet mount, but what else? What else do you always have in your bag, or what's your common accessories?
So I would say I always have my bike mount in my bag. That is my number one go-to accessory. Like you said, Cohen, you know, the magnetic swivel clip, because of its size, it's like a combination between the jaw flex clamp and the bike mount. So I actually have this in my pocket most of the time because this is super handy. I clip it to places, I clip it to objects. Sometimes I even clip it to like objects like a chopstick or fork, just to see what interesting perspective I get. I use this as a bike mount as well. So, but I mean, in my bag, once I open it up, I definitely have my dual battery charger all the time. I have my jaw flex clamp. I would also have my bike mount. And one of the other selfie sticks that I absolutely like the Shorty selfie stick. It's a really pocketable selfie stick. Let me see if I have one right here. All right, I do have one right here.
Of course you have one right there.
It's of course I have one right there. Yeah, so this is something that I like as well. It really depends. It's a really small little cute guy. It fits into my pocket really well. So yeah, I love all of this. But yeah, if you have something to check out, something that you want to check out, I said this guy, it's really cool. I love it because I can even hold it as a hand grip when I'm holding it out like this. Camera can be here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, those are my favorite accessories.
So Tony Spires, how's it going, Tony? Great to see you're on.
What's up, Tony?
Thank you for your question. So Tony would like to know, when he goes on vacation, he has a hard time of always trying to get the shot. They say here, get the shot, and he wastes a lot of time. So you know, back to that question you saw earlier, Ron, is like, how do you prepare so you can maximize your time, you know, and be more efficient when you're shooting? I think we all face this, right? Like, I'm on vacation and I don't want to be that guy. Well, first of all, I never want to be the guy walking around with the iPad, let alone the guy that just is, you know, my wife already gives me enough crap. I'm always using my GoPro all the time. So how can you help Tony and I, or just any of those individuals that end up just shooting way too much? Got any tips there?
Tony, I absolutely feel you. And I would say my wife, Celine, she definitely can relate to you as well, because she used to complain that, oh my God, can you stop shooting and start being here? So I would say that has been a great motivation for me, because over the years, as I got into this, you know, I improved the workflow a lot. And that is why, you know, going back to the tip, it's about planning. And here is something to help you plan your shot. You know, if you are relatively new, you have no idea how to start storyboarding. What I would say, in terms of how to get started storyboarding, it's like writing a composition. You know, it's like writing a story. It always starts with an introduction, then it comes to the body, and then finally it comes to the conclusion. So for example, you can also write this down. For example, in the introduction section, what you want to start thinking about, it's who, what, where, when. Who is in your video? Who do you want to feature in your video? Where is it taking place? When is it taking place? Is it the spring, summer, fall? Those are some scenes that you want to start thinking about, and how do you want to go about telling that scene? Is it a time lapse that you want to start your video? Do you want to start rolling in with a banger? How do you want to capture your audience attention? So I'll say that's introduction. And then it comes to the body. And when it comes to the body, that's something that I'm not too worried about, because most people, when they go out to capture, especially for the new users, they capture all the action. But my recommendation today is that instead of just capturing all the action, start to build your story, start to build your character, have a little bit of character development or scene or scene development. And then last but not least, in terms of your storyline, start to think about it, before your trip. How do you want to end your story? Is there something that you are about to do in your story? Are you going to ride a hot air balloon, for example? Are you maybe eating something delicious today? Is it a dinner date that you're out with your wife? What is it that you're going, what kind of trip are you going on with your wife? So I would say by doing it beforehand, that enables you to be in the moment. So just another tip for you guys, what I have on my phone most of the time, like recently I went to Iceland for our honeymoon last year. So what I did is that I actually have a notepad in my phone. And before my trip, I actually keyed up some shots that I know I wanted to get. Because I know I was going to visit some waterfalls. I know I was going to see some awesome sceneries. So in my notepad, I'm saying, okay, this is the type of shot that I want. And I think that helps. And then once we are at the waterfall, I was like, all right, let's just do this shot. And boom, 10 seconds later, I'm done.
Exactly.
So,
I think you hit it on a good point, Ron.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it just comes down to planning, because if you think about ahead of time, like, what am I going to do with this content? Is it going to be an edit? Or like for me, I'm just going to shoot a photo. So I don't need to worry about what resolutions and frame rates, because I'm literally just going to be shooting in photo mode. Or maybe I know I'm going to be doing an activity, so I want to be able to pull a screen grab. So maybe I do shoot in that 4K 4x330. I think it all comes down, that will also help you organize like what mounts and accessories. Maybe you only have a small bag you can take. So if you've already been thinking about the shots you want to get, the mounting positions that you want to have, then all of a sudden you might not need to bring your entire GoPro accessory bag with you on your trip. Like maybe all you need to do is have a shorty because you need to get some POV, and you maybe have a Jaws Flex clamp so you can clamp it on a couple different parts. And maybe those two mounts will help you achieve the different angles and perspectives you're looking. So I think if you can think about, what you're going to do with your footage, where you're going to share it, because if you're only going to share it on Instagram or Facebook, and you're not going to do like a big Premiere or Final Cut Pro edit, then you don't need to shoot in 4K. You don't need to use up all that SD card space and all those batteries if you're just going to make something to live on a native post on Instagram or Instagram stories. And that's another tip, right? If you're going to shoot stuff in Instagram stories, you can now, with the GoPro, rotate the camera vertically, and now you can get that 9x16. But if you didn't think about that ahead of time, you might have your camera just horizontal. So I think planning is gonna really help you save some time, grab the shots, and as soon as you get them, you can throw that camera in the bag and then just truly be in the moment and enjoy. Because that's ultimately like what we want anyways. We want you to be in the moment and truly enjoy, so you're not stuck behind the lens of your camera. Okay, so just a few more questions. We got one coming in from Salim Umer. He says, hello, Ron and Cohen. Salim wants to know, what is the best setting for shooting slow motion in night?
All right, Salim, I would say that is a rather, sometimes it's a balance. It's quite a tricky topic because at night, when the lighting is low, usually the recommendation is to lower your frame rate so you allow more light to come in. Whereas when you want to shoot slow motion, you got to increase the frame rate. So my tip to you would definitely be a question, number one, is there a way that you can improve the lighting of your slow-mo type shot? For example, if you are chasing, I need to, maybe it's the use case of you chasing a friend, maybe it's cycling, you want to chase him doing a jump. So I would say, is there a way that you can get an external light to be shining on your friend? That way, you can bump up your frame rates for sure. Another great way I would recommend is to increase your resolution, because I think that as well definitely helps improve it. So my go-to settings, I love 2.7K. So I would shoot 2.7K at 60 frame rates per second. That's something that I personally like. Another good shout out, like I would say for me, I draw a lot of inspiration from creators, and one of those great creators that I really love and respect, it's Abe Capslevid. I think he's a living legend right there. If you haven't watched his recent video about his daydream, I would highly recommend you to catch that on his YouTube channel. It's super inspiring, and I think he did a short series where he shares all of his creative tips and tricks and download in terms of how he gets his shot for different settings, different type of use cases. So I think he did a great work on that subject matter, and he has a blog with a full list of shot type settings he used, this shot type, this setting to use, and I think you can find all of that in his blog. Big shout out to Abe. Yeah. You go,
absolutely, dude. And he's got a great YouTube channel as well. So whether you're accessing his content through his vlog or his blog, sorry, not his vlog, his blog or his YouTube channel, he's got an amazing array of tips and tricks videos. I mean, the guy not only is one of the most insane creators on the planet, he also loves to help share his tips and tricks with everybody so that you all and we all can get the most out of it. So huge shout out to the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Abe Kislevitz, for everything he does for all of us out there to be truly inspired to get out and create ourselves. So a couple more questions. So Mahir Golani, again, thank you for being so active. I appreciate it. And obviously you're asking a bunch of great questions to be getting thrown up here a couple times. So how do you best manage your battery life when shooting a long time lapse?
So couple of questions I would say you have to ask yourself first is, how long is that time lapse going to be? If, for example, if you intend to shoot between sunset all the way to sunrise, then I would say that's pretty long. One recommendation is that I would check if I have any power source nearby. If I have a power source nearby, I would have my GoPro camera plugged into a power source. If not, I would say a power bank works as well. But one of my consideration for you is to definitely start to think, are you shooting it from indoor to outdoor? So the reason I ask that is because you have to understand the weather condition. If you are having it plugged continuously, if it rains, then that's going to be an issue because you have an exposed port right there. So maybe check the weather forecast app. That's what I do sometimes. Is there stars tonight? Is it worth that commit that I'm going to do? And if it's worth that commitment, it's a clear night. Go ahead and I would say set the camera out there, put a power bank, and I would say you're gonna get the shot. Oh, another tip: if you're gonna do that kind of shot, I would say before you commit into a long time lapse, okay, be sure to shoot a single photo or still photo first. Whether is it a single photo or whether is it like a night lapse photo, single photo, to just check out the setting before you go for the commit, because you want to be sure that if you're committing to the shot, you don't want to move the camera, you don't want to change any settings. So my tip is that always before you commit to a long time lapse shot, frame it first and check your setting with single photo.
Awesome. Well, we got one more question, and then I think we're gonna wrap things up. Because we got to give away this beautiful Hero 8 Black. Whoops! I just bumped my camera. So that's well, that's what happens when you're mounting on a Jaws Flex clamp mount and you bump it. So Manish DL wants to know what video settings is the best if you wish to grab a still photo out of it, because as we know, photo from the video isn't going to be the high quality. So Manish, I actually dropped this tip a little bit earlier in the video, so I'll be happy to answer this one. My best suggestion is the newer GoPros have the 4K 4:3 setting. So this will allow the camera to capture the full sensor of the camera. And since it's capturing in 4K at 30 frames a second, basically what you're doing is giving your ability to grab 30 frames every single second, therefore it's similar to like a burst mode of 30/1. So you will be able to grab an 8 megapixel screen grab from that video. So if you're looking to never miss the shot and hopefully grab it, so unless you're doing something super fast action, then I would suggest using 4K 4:3 30. If you are doing something a little more fast action and need a higher resolution, a higher frame rate, like 60 frames per second, then I would use the 2.7K 4:3 30, or 4:3 with 60 frames a second. So sorry, I tripped over my words. So if you need a higher frame rate you're going to have to sacrifice your resolution, and I would suggest using 2.7K 4:3 at 60 frames a second. If you're looking for the best image quality and you don't need fast action, then I would use the 4K 4:3 30 at 30 frames per second. And then you're either going to get an 8 megapixel or 4 megapixel camera photo screen grab out of that, which will be ideal for any social media type needs. So, Ron, I know you're looking at this. We got to figure out who we're going to give this GoPro away. Yeah. I'm going to do, let's do a little digital drum roll. Maybe you could, here, let's do this, because I know I'm going to put you on the spot, because you have been known to beatbox. So as we wait for the moderator to send us over who's going to win this question, can you give us a little beatbox as we tee it up here?
Oh man, Cohen, you always put me on the spot. What's up, guys?
Yo, here.
When the beats and the greets.
And without further ado, the winner of this beautiful Hero 8 Black, I want to thank you guys all so much for joining today, and specifically D-Rex, the triple D-Rex. Huge shout out. If you could please just throw a comment in the box. We need to be able to, we'll direct message you so we can get in contact with you, and so we can get your address. And of course, we want to be able to get that out to you. So thank you so much. You've been super engaged, and we really loved your question. The question that we chose from D-Rex was, I'm guilty of unedited SD card footage. How do you find inspiration and motivation to edit that old footage? Not only did we think this was a great question, thank you moderators for choosing it. It was super in line with what this whole purpose of this live stream was. So as you all know, thank you so much for joining us on this GoPro live stream experience, all talking about dusting off your SD card and getting the most out of your GoPro experience. But for those that want to dive deeper into how to edit with the GoPro app, maybe you want to learn more about single clip editing, maybe you want to learn more about themes, or just manual versus automatic, join us next time for a very special opportunity with a close homie of mine who may or may have not been slapped in the face by an octopus. My good friend Kyle Berkey will be joining us on our next live stream to talk about how to edit with the GoPro app. So in the meantime, I hope everyone is out there staying safe, staying healthy, enjoying their time at home as best we can. I want to send all of huge hugs and love out from our side here, in my side here in California. And Ron, I want to thank you so much for taking time. I know it's super early and we've been up, getting everything set up. So, and then you also, huge shout out to your beautiful wife, because I know she's probably just sitting right next to you, given that, there's not a lot of other places she can go in your small apartment. Oh, she's behind you. Tell her hello.
Yeah.
And of course, two more quick shout outs. One, Eric, thank you so much for helping us produce and direct. You did an insane job today. I hope you guys all enjoyed Eric's direction. And then thank you, moderators, to the team in Manila, team here at HQ. We really appreciate you guys taking time to help answer all of our fans' questions and then help tee up this awesome Q&A. It wouldn't be possible with all of you guys out there. And most importantly, I want to thank all of you, our GoPro community, our GoPro family. We're so appreciative for everything you guys do. You guys inspire us to continue to be able to bring these things. So if you want to hear more on different topics or whatever topics that you guys want to hear about, make sure you're throwing those in the comments below. We look forward to bringing you another experience really soon. And until then, as I always like to sign off, many mahalos from beautiful California.
Yeah. And for those who are asking, are we really streaming on the GoPro camera? Yeah. And thank you everybody.
For sure. Have a great day, guys. And until next time, much love.
Yeah.